This meeting is being recorded.
So welcome and thank you for joining us today for the meeting of the New York City Health and Hospitals Capital Committee. Today's meeting is officially called to order. Please note for the record that Karen St. Hilaire is representing Molly Wasso Park uh, in a voting capacity. So I would like to propose a motion to adopt the minutes of the Capital Committee meeting held on July 1st, 2024. All in favor, please say yes. Yes. Opposed, say no. So the motion is adopted. So next we will hear the Vice President's report, Mr. Saiz.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This July, we ended our fiscal year 2024 with some precedent-setting success. We had an infrastructure commitment target of $156,234,000 for the fiscal year, and we ended the year with $159,330,000 committed. 102% infrastructure commitment rate. This is the highest commitment rate to date for H&H infrastructure portfolio. The highest has been 85%, and we have not exceeded 100% ever. Our teams worked tirelessly to ensure that we met our exceeding our commitments so that we can continue to receive adequate funding for our crucial capital projects. Reaching the milestone will hopefully allow us to make a stronger case to OMB to increase the allocation of city capital dollars in the upcoming years for our portfolio. And with that, it was such an extraordinary achievement for us. I just want to hand it over to Menji for a couple of comments.
Thank you, Dr. Saiz. So I just wanted to introduce some of the team that really helped us get to this 102%. It's not easy to do that work, and it requires a collaborative effort across the entire system. We have Jessica Grathrall, who heads up our capital budget, Gabby, who heads up our contracts team, Annie, who works with us on IGA and prepares all this wonderful material and makes sure we're aligned so we can meet the timelines for the board, and then Jawad, who does the controller registration. So these are four crucial team members. They work closely with our capital leads, our regionals, our partners in OLA, and our partners in supply chain. And they've, in the last year and a half, implemented some tools and processes that have helped us better track our projects that we're targeting for commitment and allow us to kind of adjust that as needed so that we can stick to the target that OMB set for us. And hitting that target or exceeding it is really important because it allows us, as Manny mentioned, to make a stronger case with the city for more capital dollars or to increase our capital allocation. So I just wanted to say thank you to this team and thank you to our partners across the system as well.
Yeah, and I echo that extraordinary work. Really collaborative, super diligent and creative, and very strategic with all the pressures we have for OMB. So really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that. You know, the board cares a lot about like being able to plan and so on. So of course, that's very well. I mean, it's excellent to see that happen. So.
Great. So continuing, our capital budget and payments team facilitated 619 purchase orders to authorizing $426,515,372 in budget expenditures. Our payment team processed over 3,600 payment vouchers this year with a total transaction amount of $376,897,128. At New York City Health and Hospitals Jacoby, we started construction on the Building 6 MRI and the 11 East operating rooms. At Lincoln, we completed the wellness room and is currently being used by staff. And at Elmhurst, Governor Kathy Hochul generously invested $27.5 million to expand our maternal and pediatric health wings, which was very supportive of her. We have 5 items for the committee this month: Woodhall generators, Kings County operating room renovation, and system-wide AM, AE, and MEP services, New York City Bellevue licenses, and Queens food. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from board members? Thank you for the report.
Okay, thank you.
Resolutions?
Great. So I'm Deborah Morris, real estate. I'm joined by Melissa Brody from representing Bellevue. This is a request for consideration authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system, to sign a 5-year renewable revocable license agreement with Lori's Gifts, Inc., Lori's, for its use of approximately 884 square feet to operate a gift shop on the ground floor of the F-Link building at New York City Health and Hospitals Bellevue, the facility, at an annual occupancy fee of $96,000 or 10% of gross sales, whichever is higher, to escalate at 2.75% each year for a 5-year total of at least $507,136.
Good morning. Marcia Peters apologizes she's not able to be here this morning. So Lori's is the vendor that operates the only gift shop at Bellevue. Gift shops in hospital settings provide a valuable service to the community. For visitors, they purchase gifts and boost morale for patients. The staff have access to purchase necessities such as snacks, and this vendor is consistent with the Systems Healthy Beverage Initiative. This is the only location for staff to purchase necessities, and Bellevue has a very large campus, and their hours are very great. During the week, they're open all the way until midnight. Lori's, the vendor, is the nation's largest provider of hospital gift shop solutions. They've operated the gift shop at Bellevue for almost 2 decades. The previous concession agreement was issued directly at Bellevue for the same location. It was a 5-year concession agreement with a 5-year renewal that Bellevue agreed to. And then the agreement expired during peak COVID, and that's the reason why we're asking for this renewal now. So the gift shop is really located in the heart of Bellevue in our F-Link. The F-Link connects all the buildings, including the Atrium building, which has the First Avenue entrance to the hospital building. So everyone has access and walks through this F-Link past our gift shop. The total space is 884 square feet with the retail floor at 673 square feet.
Great. So the license terms is a 5-year terminable by either party upon 60 days notice without cause. Substantial, very generous hours of operation, weekdays 6 a.m. to midnight, weekends 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. The occupancy fee is the greater of $96,000 annually or 10% of gross sales, escalating 2.75% each year and generating at least $536 over the course of 5 years. This represents an increase from the prior minimum annual occupancy fee of $72,000. And as a reminder, fair market value is not relevant when part of the rent is a percentage of sales. So a request for committee approval, the resolution that has already been read.
So any questions from board members?
I didn't realize
Committee
that
members?
fair market rent wasn't applicable if you're also getting a percentage of gross sales. Is that just a rule that we follow?
Yes.
Questions? Other
No
questions?
questions.
So that their agreement expired in May 2020, right?
Yeah.
So have they been operating under the terms of the old agreement since then? Frida one asked me that question, so.
Yes, they've been operating without an agreement, and they've been open since then. They were open during COVID.
They're using the terms of the previous agreement, the agreement up to that point.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to take it to a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion approved, thank you.
That's great.
Motion to go.
Great. So I'm joined by the Queen's COO and Michael Geldert. This is a request to authorize a license agreement with Fresh on the Go for retail food. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system, to sign a 5-year revocable license agreement with Fresh on the Go, FOTG, for its use of approximately 500 square feet to operate a food service on the first floor of the main hospital at New York City Health and Hospitals Queens, the facility, at an annual occupancy of $27,600 based on $55.20 per square foot, to escalate at 2.75% each year for a 5-year total of $145,802. So for the current state at Queens, convenient food operations are important to all staff and patient satisfaction, and hospital work schedules require access to food on campus. Healthy food choices are a core of H&H values, and cost-conscious pricing allows access to all. New York City Health and Hospitals Queens is in need of an option to offer employees, patients, and visitors to Queens, as the prior establishment, Andy's Cafe, closed in November 2023 in order to make room for every table. Currently, there are no options internally for Queens Hospital, as the prior selected vendor, Every Table, filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. New York City Health and Hospitals Queens selected Fresh on the Go because Fresh on the Go was established in 2024 from the principal owners of Andy Cafe, who have several other H&H locations. Fresh on the Go's food tasting with staff was highly regarded, and Fresh on the Go's proposal offers an affordable, culturally appropriate, and healthy menu at Queens. Fresh on the Go will offer a culturally diverse and healthy menu at affordable prices for the Queens community: breakfast, lunch, and dinner foods, including kosher and halal, hot and cold options, eggs made to order sandwiches, hot soup, pasta, prepackaged salads, a salad bar, and daily hot entries ranging from $2.50 to $11. And Queens will approve price changes other than cost of living adjustments. Included in the package is a sample menu showing prices and options. Fresh on the Go will be responsible for the cost of construction, and they estimate to make about $150,000 of improvements for renovation of the space and estimate to open by the end of 2024. And this is the space off the ambulatory services lobby entrance. The license terms are 5 years, terminable by either party upon 30 days' notice without clause. The location is the main hospital, first floor of New York City Health and Hospitals, Queens. The hours of operation are approximately 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays and 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on weekends. Rent is fair market value. The occupancy fee will be first year $27,000, $600 annually, increasing 2.75% each year, with a total value of the 5-year occupancy reaching $145,802. And this is the request for committee approval, the resolution.
Two questions. The appraised value came out at $43 per square foot, but we're charging $55 a square foot?
Yes.
And that's just because we could get a better price, is that?
Yes.
And the $150,000, are they getting is the rent frozen during the renovation period, or they're just continuing to pay the rent as well as investing in the renovation?
The rent doesn't start until that renovation is completed.
That was my question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. They have to get something, these guys. No.
Yeah.
Any questions? So Andy's had been there before, every table, and now the principals of Andy's are involved in this, fresh on the go.
Yeah.
So did they, this is a question from Frida One, so why did the owners create a new restaurant concept or idea?
They created a new concept, one, because they wanted a fresh start, literally. But the Fresh on the Go was a little bit of a change because they're doing a chopped salad bar and they're doing the pasta station. So what they tried to do was some of the things that every table was doing and incorporate that into their whole menu, which was different from what we previously had. So that's why they wanted to create a different concept to deliver to us.
Got it, thanks. Okay, so let me take it for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So resolution approved. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I'm going to read a few resolutions at once, so I apologize for the length of it and some of the acronyms that we'll hear. So first one, authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute requirement contracts with 10 architectural and engineering consulting firms: Gensler Design and Planning, PC Liro Engineering, Perkins Eastman, Moody Nolan, NK Architects, PA Lothrop Associate Architects, DPC, Studio AT Architects, PC, SBLM Architects, PC, Array Architects, PC, and STV Incorporated to provide professional A&E design services over a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options for an amount not to exceed $70 million. The next resolution is authorizing New York City Health, authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute requirement contracts with 6 MWBE architectural and engineering consulting firms: Moody Nolan, Twine Architectural, Matisse Architectural, Sombrano Architectural, Xavier, Richardson and Weinsberg Architectural, and Fort Albert Associates Architectural and Surveying and Engineering and Surveying, providing professional A&E design services over a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options for an amount not to exceed $20 million. The next one is authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute requirement contracts with 6 mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consulting firms: Cameron, Telta Tech, Landscape Architects, Thornton Tamensi, MG Engineering, Lozado Engineering, and Loring Consulting Engineers to provide professional MEP design services over a term of 3 years with 1 renewal option for an amount not to exceed $25 million. And finally, authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute requirement contracts with 3 MWBE mechanical, electrical, and plumbing firms: Millhouse Engineering, Shanoy Engineering, Feinberg, Katz, and Mitchell Engineering to provide professional MEB design services over a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options for an amount not to exceed $5 million. Right? Thank you. Al Channer will take us through the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. So a little background on these services. So New York City Health and Hospitals have a lot of capital projects going on, as well as a lot of non-capital projects at the facilities, and we require design and engineering services to execute drawings for those projects. They involve design and planning services, feasibility studies, as well as construction administration documents and estimating for all of these projects. Our current pool is made up of 15 vendors. 10 of them are architectural and engineering firms. 5 are specifically mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineering firms, which the contract is set to expire at the end of this year. This was a very large procurement process that took quite a while to get done, roughly a year to complete it. So we're looking to start that process now for our new pool. So we're looking to increase the use of MWBEs within the organization to meet the city goals, as well as it gives us an opportunity to do smaller projects, which are not necessarily geared to our larger architectural firms that we currently have the pools for. So in a sense, it's a win-win for the organization as well as the city and our MWBE firms that are going out here. These are 2 separate procurements. One is for the typical architectural engineering pool that we normally do. And as I mentioned, these are kind of like larger firms that do larger scale projects for us. Over the course of this last 2 to 3 years, we see there's a growth in smaller projects that are not really geared towards those larger firms. So we took the opportunity to create a separate MWE pool to give exposure to these firms in order to gain experience and then eventually grow and do more business with the organization. The distribution of the work for these pools will be done still through a mini RFP process, and the cost breakdowns for these pools, as you can see in the chart, is for the AEs, it's $70 million for the prime contractor and 20 million for the MWBE for a total of 90 million on the architectural side. On the mechanical side, it would be 25 million for the general pool and 5 million for the MWBE specific pool for a total of $30 million.
Thank you, Al. And that would be to a total of 120 million. So because there were 2 different pools, one for general, one for MWB, we had to kind of set the criteria slightly different for both, but there is definitely a lot of similarities. For the general criteria, we required minimum 30% MWB utilization. For both criteria, we wanted minimum 5 years experience, especially in healthcare facilities, and they had to be licensed professionals as well. Obviously, for the MWB criteria, they would have to be 100% MWBE. For the substantive criteria, there's essentially 3 separate categories: approach and methodology, firm experience, and staff experience. For the general pool, we balanced out those criteria and those weighting scores. But for the MWBEs, since most of these firms are just starting out, they wouldn't necessarily have the firm experience. Maybe it's just light. So we weighted their scores more heavily on their staff and on the approach and methodology. How are they going to do the work? So if they can prove that ahead of time, that would be weighed a lot heavier. And everything was evaluated by the evaluation committee, which is made up of OFD members, finance members, Gotham as well. So for the overall procurement in March, this started in March of 2023, where we requested from CRC, permission to do the solicitation. In July of 2023, we posted on City Record, provided specific firms, excuse me, a total of 155 vendors and 115 firms were also identified by the vendor diversity team. In same July, we had the pre-proposal conference where 122 vendors attended for the general pool and 110 vendors attended for the MWBE pool. In September, we received proposals, a total of 33 for general and 16 for MWBE. Between February and March of this year, presentations were held and 36 vendors were invited to participate. And in May of 2024, we had final scores identifying the top scoring proposers, which are all listed there. I'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slide. So we are requesting to enter, we're requesting approval to enter into contract for the MEPs for the general pool, which is they're all listed right there: Cameron Constantini, Torrin Tomasetti, MGE, Lasardos, and Loring, for a total of $20 million. And for the MWBE pool portion, it would be Millhouse, Shinoy, JFK&M, for a contract of $5 million. And then we are also seeking approval for A&E services for the general pool. That would be Gensler, Lero, Perkins, Moody, NK, Lothrop, SBLM, Array, and STV for a contract amount of $70 million. And for the MWBE portion of the A&E services, it would be Moody, Twine, Matisse, Sembrano, SRW, and Foy Albert for a total of $25 million. All of the vendor performance are in the following slides, and remaining ones are in the appendix, as well as the MWBE backup as well. The anticipation start date of this would be January 2025 for an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options at the discretion of Health and Hospitals. Just a couple highlights on vendor performance for the incumbents. This is a list of several of the incumbents that were rated as good and excellent for the most part. There is one outlier, Array, which started off very well, but they also had a standalone contract for the OTX-HU program, the Outposted Therapeutic Housing Units, which they really put all their focus into that program/project, which is our largest in-house project program that we're self-managing internally. We did bring them in, we had a conversation with them, they did staff additional individuals, so they are able to support the requirement contracts, and then since that moment, they've been doing much, much better. Next slide shows you the vendor diversity for the general pool. As you can see, all of the members are going to meet their minimum requirements of 30%, and some, because they are MWBE certified, they would be 100%. So we have very good representation for MWBE utilization. And then the next slide shows you the MWBE pool of the actual certifications for each one of those prime vendors and what those certifications are. And then the request for committee approval, the resolution. Do you want me to read the resolution? No? Okay. So we will take any questions.
Yep. I have several questions. It's good to know that you have a mini RFP process when you're actually going to select a firm when the time comes, and a number of firms. Hopefully, it's a very brief mini process so that you can keep the process moving. This one was very long.
Right, yes.
It appears you have 2 groups of MBEs, right? The $5 million group and the $20 million. I'm just curious, would those MBEs have been subs of the majority firms? Have they historically been, or are they new identifying MWBE firms?
So that's an interesting question, because when we were approached going out for the MWBE pool, we weren't sure the kind of response that we would get back. And it turns out it was a very positive response with the quantity of firms that submitted. So some of these firms have been traditionally subs to our typical primes, but quite a bit are actually standalone. And some of them we've known from prior experiences where they were with larger firms, and now they're off on their own.
Yeah, the number of responses from both types of firms is dramatic. It's wonderful.
Yes.
That's it, Jose. Okay.
No questions.
So I have a few questions that came from FIDA one. With the first one is not a question; it's just a comment on the fact that this is a good process, and it obviously a lot of work went into it, and but the strategy is helping the capital team be successful in delivering projects on time, as Manny described in the report. So so she wanted to commend you on the diversity of the vendors and having the general and WBE pools. The question is, so we authorized the net not to exceed for all the firms and for the 5-year period here, but will actual spend on any work assigned come back to the board again? Like, so as we authorize the pool, right? If the
Jose, so
Yeah.
they won't, so once this contract is approved by the board, that's it. The mini RFPs will be done as each project is identified, and those will be based off the master contract, which the board is approving now. So the subsequent projects will not come back to
will
the
not
board.
come
for
back
approval.
to the board. Thank you. And then under the expiring requirement contracts, did we spend the full amount?
So we did not exhaust the full pool, but we have terms on these contracts, and the term, as we mentioned earlier, is expiring. So as a result, we go back to the market at the end of the term to make sure we're getting the most competitive price.
And how are the not to exceeds for these new pools developed?
It's based on, I think, historical spend and also looking forward at the bond projects that we have coming up, along with our normal capital portfolio, and then leaving in some room as well for any emergencies or projects that may arise that we don't have in either of those portfolios yet.
And the last question is, how has the spending been tracked to ensure that we don't exceed the not to exceed?
So we have a database that we keep track of each of the pools and the vendors, and as work orders are issued and approved and assigned to these vendors, we keep a list per vendor, and we track that against the NTE that's approved by the board to ensure that we don't go over or exceed, and if we are approaching it, we come back and ask for authorization to either increase it or issue an award for a new pool.
So thank you for clarifying those points. So, yeah.
Last quick question. Manny, in your report, you had an infrastructure commitment target of 156 million, and you ended the year with 159 million. That's of commitments. How did we do on actual completion of construction?
All timelines of construction. Well, I'll have to get back to you with exactly those numbers, Sally, if you don't mind, only because we weren't prepared to answer that today. Because constructions, they have different durations, different complications. So we'll get back to you with that if you don't mind.
So Manny, would you agree that we've never done this level of construction?
Absolutely.
You've been here, how many years have you been at Health and Hospitals?
13.
And in this unit, and how, would you say we're doing twice as much?
I would say we're
construction?
easily doing twice as much, maybe even beyond that, but definitely an incredible amount of infrastructure work that was desperately needed by the system, and it is considerable.
Wonderful. That's
Wonderful, yeah. So let's take it to a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So resolution, this is to approve, for the approval of the 4 resolutions or requirement contracts. So, next one.
Okay. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute a contract with Vanguard Construction and Development, Inc. To undertake a project to construct 2 operating rooms at New York City Health and Hospitals Kings County Hospital Center for a contract amount of $5,835,252 with a 10% contingency, project contingency of $583,525 to bring the total cost not to exceed $6,418,777. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Graham Goulian, Chief Operating Officer of Kings County.
Thank you, Manny. Good morning. I'm Graham Goulian. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Kings County. Very excited about this project. Kings County currently has 10 operating rooms in the S building, and we're finding that we've pushed our limit of capacity at this point. We have currently have access issues there. In addition to that, within the operating room, we have different types of surgeries. We have our sort of bread and butter trauma surgery, which comes in 24 hours a day. And then we have these more elective ambulatory surgery cases, which is the type such as a hernia or an appendectomy, where you would come in, have your procedure, and then go home the next day. What we would like to do is to build an ambulatory surgery center, which will be convenient for patients. They can come in, be registered in a different area, have their procedure, do their recovery, and go home that next day, separating them out from the more complicated inpatient surgeries and making it a better patient experience. Often what happens is a trauma surgery or a more extensive surgery will cancel or delay these ambulatory surgeries because of the necessity of it. We are anticipating a significant amount of growth over the next few years. We have several approved business plans, which include bariatric surgery, total joint surgery, robotic surgery, GYN oncology, several others. So there is a need for us to expand our ability to provide these services. We're requesting to construct 2 new ORs specifically designed for a high volume of outpatient and same-day surgical procedures. And again, these 2 new ORs will be this one-stop convenience concept where ambulatory surgery patients can come. This project will remodel 2,370 square feet of space that was previously the cardiac catheterization lab located on the 2nd floor of the C building. The space has not been in use since 2020. The 2 new operating rooms will be designed and constructed in accordance with current safety and infection prevention standards and will provide a space for the efficient utilization of specialized medical equipment and a large volume of ambulatory surgery procedures. So this project will actually include not just 2 new operating rooms, but 4 new recovery bays to be used in the AMSURG suite. It will also include a pre-op area for patients to be evaluated, as well as a waiting and registration room. So it's for a whole suite for an ambulatory operation. That's it.
Good morning. So to construct this suite, we plan to demolish the existing space, a complete gut renovation, going back to laying out the new ambulatory surgical suites, a new HVAC system to support all the necessary required ventilations for the space, and to construct new code-compliant areas for our nurses and the patient and the ORs in that particular space. So we will make sure that we install also a building management system to make sure that we monitor and are able to control the temperature and all HVAC controls in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So in March 2024, we posted on City Record. April, we had a site walkthrough. 19 contractors attended. In July, 5 bids were received, and we determined that Vanguard was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. As I mentioned, procurement was sourced through via public bid. Contract amount is $5,835,252. We have a lot of experience with Vanguard. They've worked at Elmhurst, Jacoby, Harlem, and all in all, they're a good and excellent vendor. You know, we do like working with them, so they've been performing very well. The construction is anticipated to start in spring of 2025, and it's expected to take about 9 months. Vanguard has a 32% utilization plan, and there's a list of the subcontractors there. The vendor performance questionnaire came back as good for Vanguard, and the project budget is, as mentioned, $5.8 million. Contingency of 10% of $583,000. Total amount is $6.4 million, and the project is the CP is currently in process at OMB. We don't expect any issues with it getting authorized. And there's the resolution. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
Just the pipeline of ambulatory surgery needs has been growing, I expect, since you're adding 2 new operating rooms?
Correct. We have a pipeline of both ambulatory and non-ambulatory surgery.
Right.
So the idea would be we will decant most of the ambulatory surgery from the existing 10 ORs to this operation, which will give us capacity for that additional volume that we anticipate coming in.
And Vanguard is still doing quite a bit of work for us. You're comfortable, they're able to manage the work they're doing with this new project as well?
Yeah, we like Vanguard. They're actually doing another project in the R building with us, and we've had a good experience with them.
They have a pretty large team. They have a lot of resources, excuse me, so they'll have their own separate team on this particular project/facility.
And it might be a good thing that they know Kings.
And they know Kings.
Right. I mean, it's, I would just say that this is what the industry says is the right thing to do, right? Is to try to separate out your simple ambulatory surgeries into a different workflow than your regular surgeries, that then you can run the easier cases more efficiently. Patients don't get stuck waiting because the huge trauma comes in, which is one of the issues when everything is intermixed, is that it's harder then to control the surgical schedule. But once you segregate it out, sort of the registration process is better. And also, it's not just surgery, right? I mean, as Graham can tell you, he's been having to manage a much higher volume in general at King's. Right. And all signs suggest that that's going to continue. So I think it's a much needed project.
Yes, we're very busy.
Very busy.
Okay, let's take it to a vote then. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Resolution approved. Let's move to the next one.
Okay. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to execute a contract with Arc System Electrical Corp. to undertake a generator upgrade project at New York City Health and Hospitals Woodhull Medical Center for a contract amount of $11,970,000 with a 15% project contingency of $1,795,500 to bring the total cost not to exceed to $13,765,500. And with that, I'd like to hand it to our Capital Director at Woodhull, Kiki, who will take us away.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Woodhull Medical Center has 2 sets of generators currently, and they serve only the emergency load, which is about 70% of the whole building, totaling about 5.8 megawatts. One set of generators is permanent and is about 50 years old, so as old as the building. It certainly has exceeded its lifespan, and part of the original construction. The other set of generators is a temporary, it's on trailers, arrived circa 2004 from the United States Department of Homeland Security. The generator operability and reliability is critical for the facility to provide emergency backup power to all essential and non-essential building systems and equipment such as fire alarm and life safety systems, HVAC equipment for temperature and humidity control, IT infrastructure and information systems, applications and security, pumps for domestic water distribution, sterilization of surgical instruments, medical equipment for patient care and monitoring. Engineering staff at the facility must conduct monthly tests on each set of generators, 2 tests monthly. The construction scope and schedule. So we'll have a new set of state-of-the-art emergency generator system for Woodhull. The new system will include generators from the original construction to remain in place, and the temporary generators will be removed. There are some rigging kind of logistics that need to happen. The construction of a new concrete pad and foundation for the new generator set and its location, connections to new generator set, 3 new diesel-fired 2-megawatt Tier 4 emergency generators, and 1 new diesel-fired 2-megawatt Tier 2 emergency generator. All of the 4 will have a prefabricated enclosure, so weather-tight. There will be new diesel pumps, filtration and piping, new ventilation and combustion air system with new chimney stack, new instrumentation, controls, and the switchgear. The project benefits include full demand of the whole facility, so 100% backup power in case of loss of power, plus a standby generator. With a new generator system, Woodhull can participate in the Con Ed demand response program during peak electrical load season. And demand response provides a financial incentive to organizations who are able to shift electrical loads from the Con Ed grid to generators during periods of peak electrical load, significantly reducing the risk of blackouts, brownouts, and ensuring the Woodhull community can continue to receive power and Woodhull can receive additional revenue. Some of the project logistics. The new generators were pre-purchased in spring of 2023. We are expecting delivery for the first quarter 2025. There will be no impact to patient care. The contract term is 1 year, and we're anticipating contract start this year, fall 2024. Anticipated contract completion is fall 2025.
Thank you, Kiki. So we did the solicitation on City Record in April of 2024, and in May we had a pre-bid conference where 12 contractors attended, and July we received 4 bids, and that's where we determined that ARC was the lowest responsible bidder. ARC is a MWBE vendor, and they will be self-performing a lot of the services. They have an excellent and 3 good ratings in MOX, so they're a very good performer throughout the city. They've done work for NYCHA, SCA, DDC, DHS, and DASNY. This contract amount will be for $11.9 million. As Kiki mentioned, construction is expected to begin fall of 2024 and expected to take 12 months. The project budget, as mentioned, construction $11.9 million. Project contingency is about 15% at $1.8 million to bring in the total to $13.8 million. And there's a resolution, and I just want to take a second to acknowledge COO Lisa Scott McKenzie is here, and she has experienced some of the trials and tribulations of having generator issues at the facility at Woodhull. So this is one of the reasons why these projects like this are very important for the facility.
Absolutely. Just very, very briefly, I think everyone remembers about a year ago, we had an extreme emergency, which led to an 8-day evacuation from Woodhull. And if we did not have our tertiary generators that we have online now, we would have had even a greater impact to the facility and to the community. So we're looking forward to having this full demand system. It's going to greatly enhance our resiliency efforts, and we should never have that happen at Woodhull again.
So thank you for being here and for overseeing the project.
Thank you.
Any questions from?
Just to understand, so the 50-year-old generator, which has exceeded its lifespan, you're going to keep anyway and use? Or that, because you're just leaving it?
It's going to remain in place. It's going to be decommissioned. It's too difficult to get it out of the building. In order to get it out, we would have to have too much of an expense.
I got
so
it.
we're just going to keep it in place, and the new generators are going to go in a new location.
And the temporary generator, the 2004 generator, are you keeping that, or are you adding a different temporary generator?
Well, the generator that we're getting is going to have greater capacity. So we shouldn't have to rely on that tertiary generator as much as we do now, but I personally like to keep it, so we can talk a little bit more about how we want to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like we'll have subsequent conversations.
I can certainly validate that it is surprising how much it costs to move things out. Right. It's not an obvious thing. I actually had in LA, we had, before I got there, they deconditioned a women and children's hospital because they built a new hospital. And having never explored this issue, I'm like, well, why are we keeping that building? It's just standing there. And then I found out what it would cost to take away the building. And it's like, well, if I, am asking the county for money, am I going to ask for $250 million to get rid of a building? Right. I mean, it's phenomenal how much it costs to get rid of something. So I certainly understand why you've made the decision you have.
Okay, so let me take this out to a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So the resolution approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So is there any old or new business to come before the committee? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.